Parliament, Mr. K.G. Alphons, who's also on the Parliamentary Standing Committee on External Affairs, was closely associated with the drafting of the national education policy that promises sweeping reforms. He was previously a senior civil servant and is an advocate. He's also been Minister of State for Culture and Tourism. Honourable Member of Parliament, Mr. K.G. Alphons, may I please request you to come and deliver our keynote address.
Distinguished former advisor to the Prime Minister, Mr. Ramdure, my dear friend and college classmate Manohar Moses, Air Force Marshal Dr. Rudy Gultom, my distinguished friend and former Minister, Mr. Salman Khurshid, who is in the audience, my friend General Sani, distinguished audience, Ms. Nisha Ramdas, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here only because my friend Manohar Moses, who's been with me in the university, has invited me. In fact, there's a family marriage function in my hometown, in my village in Kerala, but since I have this commitment to Moses, I said, no, I have to be here. Moses was the envy of all the men in the university because all the bright, pretty women were in Moses' company, leaving nothing for any of us. So I have a great admiration for Moses from those days. Yesterday I was taking part in this debate on Agnipath, so I was having a long chat with General Sani in the morning. So the anchor was asking me the first thing, the country is on fire. Why do you need Agnipath? I said, that's precisely the reason why we need an Agnipath. Why is that there is so much little discipline in this country? People are setting fire to trains and buses and burning offices and real estate property without knowing what the reason was. I had a distinguished member of Parliament taking part in the debate along with me, and I asked him, why, my dear friend, why are you doing this? He had no answer except to say that 600,000 people are waiting there after a physical test. That's the only reason he could get. I said, this country needs discipline, precisely. Young people in this country needs discipline. If this is the kind of discipline that this country has, we are not going to go anywhere. You bring about artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, nothing is going to happen in this country unless we have fundamental discipline and say, I want to be part of this country which is going to progress, which is going to take off. Why I'm saying this? I told Moses, look here, I'm in public life for 40 years. As an IAS officer, as a member of Kerala Assembly, as a Union Minister for Tourism, and also for IT, and also now as a Member of Parliament. I've never been late in 40 years even by a second, I can assure you, for any function. I walk in here at 9:50. It's half a dozen people, including distinguished Mr. Ramadure. Why are we blaming anybody else? Traffic. Don't we know the traffic in Delhi is bad? Rains yesterday. Didn't we know that there was rains yesterday? You go to 90% of the functions, this is what happens. Once in a while, I'm the one who opens the door to the convention center as well, as chief guest. You can have artificial intelligence, anything in the world, unless we change ourselves, this mentality that anything can just happen, we can waste others' time. Sorry, the country is not going to improve. Anyway, while I was waiting, I was reading on the net very interesting story on Mr. Ramadure, 5 experiences which shaped my life. So it also did me some good waiting for the function to start. Otherwise, maybe I would have never read it. Very happy to be here. I was the only politician in the national education policy in the NEP. In the initial stages, I attended about 10-15 briefings along with my good friend Manjul Bhargav. Let me test the general knowledge of some of you people here. How many of you know who is Manjul Bhargav? 1, 2, 2.5. He's the first Indian to win the field prize in mathematics. Of course, now we have one more person, Akshay Venkatesh. Come on, he's the most brilliant guy. It's equivalent of the Nobel Prize in mathematics. You know, this man used to fly down from Princeton for every meeting of the NEP. Stay here as many days. And we spent many hours having coffee and beer, both of us together. Because the first few meetings of the NEP was only regarding what should be the philosophy of the NEP. Before we go into the infrastructure and all other things, said, let's talk about what should be the dream. So this was the first 10-15 meetings. And of course, when I became the minister, I could not attend the NEP meetings anymore. But that philosophy which we discussed, that is the focus of the NEP, and that's the whole philosophy of NEP. What is it? Allow a child to be a child, allow our young people to think for themselves and to grow. This is a simple philosophy. Today, whose dream does a child have? I was Secretary General Education Kerala. I was also Principal Secretary Higher Education Kerala. I was also Commissioner for Entrance Examination Kerala. I've spent enough life in the education sector. When I was Higher Education Secretary, the girl who topped the class 12 examinations, in Kerala we call the plus 2 board exams, her picture was all over the television, lead news, the brightest girl, the most brilliant genius in Kerala. So we gave her a huge reception in the BJT hall. The Chief Minister was there, Education Minister was there. I organized it. After the meeting was over, when she came down, I asked her a very simple question. What are you going to do with your life? Very simple question. I asked her also in Malayalam the same thing. Kuti jeevithathil endu cheyan pova? Simple. She thought for a long time and she says, I'll go home, I'll ask my mother, and then I'll tell you. This is what Indian school system produces, unfortunately. When I was Commissioner for Entrance Examination, I've seen, because my job was to select people who will go into engineering and medical colleges. My office was on the 5th floor in the Housing Board building. Parents come to see the list on the board. Those days it was not digital, not on the website. And I've seen parents shouting at their children, you're not on the list, go to the top of the building, jump. I've seen that. I've seen a parent the other day. This was a huge meeting to congratulate children who had scored huge marks. This girl had scored 499 out of 500. And the mother's question to the child was, how did he lose that 1 mark? And they given it for reevaluation. How does a child get 100% in English literature, in history, in political science? Tell me. Very simple. Because there is a formula. Questions are known exactly what is the wording of the question, and there is a formula of the answer exactly written down. Without a comma, without a full stop, you know exactly what the answer is. Anybody who reproduces that gets 100%. Otherwise, how does a child get 100% in history, English literature? How does? And what's the process? Very simple. The class begins with the dictation, and the kid writes it down, and then, of course, the child, of course, wakes up in the morning at 4 o'clock in the morning when he or she should be seeing beautiful dreams and made to sit on a scooter at the back when the kid is sleepy, dreamy, taken to the tuition center, And then you repeat what the class teacher has told, what she's written down, repeat, repeat, repeat. Evening, you are not back home till 10 o'clock at night because you are in the tuition center. And you vomit out what is an examination. You vomit out into the answer sheet what has been taught, what you have repeated. Do we have a future? I'm sorry. No. And with all apologies to IITs, I asked a question, start question in the parliament. How many patents, how many discoveries that our great IITs have come out with, how many of these have been converted into actual commercial product benefiting the society? Start question. Answer. Commercial products worth 527 crores have come out from IITs. 520. Start question. I have the reply with me. How great institution of IITs, Mr. Ramadurai. Is it enough? We produce plenty of brains to go to the US or to be based in Bangalore to work for multinationals. Where is it? Tell me. I'm not trying to bring down the reputation of IITs. Everybody wants IITian. Take IIT Delhi, IIT Mumbai. How much of their products have been converted into commercial products? How did the entire Silicon Valley come up? Simple. So Ramadurai knows it much better. One university, Stanford University, produced the entire Silicon Valley. What has Delhi IIT produced? What has Mumbai IIT produced? Sorry, I'm asking these questions as a parliamentarian, as a citizen. Why is this? Because that girl who topped the class 12 examination gave the reply, I will go home, I'll ask my mother, and I will tell you what I'm going to do with my life. Things have got to change. When President Kennedy became president, he was asked, how come you become president at 43? Because a Catholic was never expected to become a president in a predominantly Protestant country. He said, my presidency was created at the dining table in my house. Kennedy family had 12 children. Simple rules, dinner is at 6:30. All the 12 children have to attend, and that dinner will be lengthy. If you want, you can eat. Not necessary. If you feel like eating, you eat. Otherwise, this was the venue for discussion on national and international issues, and every child had to participate. And Kennedy said, this is what made me the President of the United States of America. Let me be a little autobiographical. When I came from Kerala, I was a district collector of Kottayam. I was appointed as commissioner of GDF because I wrote the dissenting note on the famous palm oil scandal in which the chief minister and 8 secretaries to the government were accused. I wrote the dissenting note, so I'm not an accused. I was exiled to Delhi as commissioner of Delhi Development Authority. Thank God. That's where I became kind of famous. I put my children in Don Bosco, being a Catholic. Class 3, class 5. 3 months later, the principal says, Father Paul says, parents come over. When I went, the principal said, your kids are dumb. I heard that when I was doing my school examination. My principal called me when I was doing my class 10 examination, called my parents and said, this kid is not going to pass the examination. Let him repeat one more year. He can do it next year. But the miracle happened in my life, and I passed class 10 examination with 42% marks. 42%. So the principal of Don Bosco calls us, and when we appear before the principal, because, principals are like gods, He said, what's the problem? He said, your children don't speak the kind of English which Delhi children speak. I said, look here, I come from Kottayam, and there was only one CBSE school, and even the principal couldn't speak one sentence properly. Principal said, that's not my problem. He said, your children don't speak Hindi. I said, my children didn't learn Hindi because you learn Hindi only after class 5. This cruel principal, Father Paul, I'm a Catholic, so I can say that, Because if I was not a Catholic and I accuse a Catholic priest of something, there will be riots on the street just now in another 5 minutes. Since I'm a Catholic, I guess that's not a problem. Because, we are such a sensitive people. We can't say anything about anybody else, isn't it? So he said, take your children out. They were given TC and out. At the age of 8 and 10, my kids are thrown out of famous school. We didn't send our children anywhere to school for the next 2 weeks. Then we searched for a school in the neighborhood for bluebells. Put them there. 1 month later, we have a problem. My younger son, who is 8, class 3, he's taken by the class teacher to the principal and said, this kid is a problem. Principal asked, what's the problem? He said, he's scribbling everywhere. Notebooks, homeworks, textbooks, everywhere. He's drawing pictures. What would happen in a normal school? Mr. Salman Khurshid, of course, is a famous educationist. He was chairman of DPS. Normal school, what would happen is out with your diary and they would write, tomorrow the parents appear before us, before the principal. Here, you know what the principal said? He said, son, he should call all the boys, son, your classroom is white, you paint them. When you finish your classroom, go to the next classroom and you paint the entire school. So my son came home and said, Appa, our principal seems to be a nut like you. I said, what happened? He said, you paint the entire school, so can I become a painter? I said, of course you can become a painter. So that evening, we went to Lajpat Nagar market, but canvas. Exactly 3 years later, my son had the first painting exhibition inaugurated by Anjali Ella Menon, and all the paintings were sold within 1 hour, and my son becomes a taxpayer at the age of 11, independent taxpayer. And everybody says, oh my God, he's a genius. At 12, he had a solo exhibition in the National Gallery. At 13, he had a global exhibition inaugurated by the President of India, Delhi, London, New York, Washington. And in London, one painting out of the 75 was sold for $10,000. Everybody said, he's a genius. At 16 and a half, he went to the best art school in the US to do painting. Everybody said, you're crazy. Your son is good in mathematics, he should be doing engineering, he should become an engineer. And that's the trend. And you are the Commissioner for Entrance Examination, Secretary of Higher Education. How are you sending your child to do painting? I said, my son loves painting. That's where his heart is. So we spent a fortune. He got a scholarship, went to MICA, the best art school, did his graduate studies from Boston University, did his management from Columbia University, and became director of Harlem School of Arts, a globally famous school at the age of 23. In India, what would happen? A kid at 23 becoming a director, again, there will be fire on the street, isn't it? At 23, he quits. He says, I quit my job. I said, what are you going to do? He said, philanthropy. I said, how much money you have? 0. These kids are crazy. In 2014, he was in the list of 50 biggest philanthropists of the world, along with Bill Gates. A dumb kid who was thrown out of school had his own dreams. And the parents allowed that dreams to flourish. And more important, I'm thankful to Suman Kumar, the principal of Bluebells, allowed that kid to dream for himself. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a focus of the NEP. All the structures that you talk about, I'm not part of that. I'm part of the dream part in the NEP. You can create any structure in this country or anywhere in the world. If you don't allow that structure to work, it will not work. Simple. I was Commissioner of Delhi Development Authority. When I came here, I found out everybody was grabbing DDA land and building, selling off. Nobody demolished before me. When I came here, everybody said, oh, this Madrasi has come. I was the first South Indian commissioner. What can he do? He doesn't know Hindi. He has no political connections. What can he do? I said, let me see. Over the next 5 years, we pulled down 14,310 illegal mansions in Delhi, starting with the biggest mafia leader in Delhi, apologies, H.K.L. Bhagat, who burned alive 5,000 people after Indira Gandhi's assassination. First building was 200,000 square feet. Is it difficult? Not at all. You put your bulldozer and the building comes down. Beautiful. It's such a beautiful sight to see, I was obsessed whenever I see a building, where do you put the bulldozer? Is it difficult? Not at all. It's very simple. I carried a gun 24 hours. My wife was beaten up, left for dead. She survived. My kids were beaten up. My kids went to play cricket and to school under police protection. My wife went to market under police protection. We survived. To be alive is a miracle. But that's my job. I'm sure General Sani has risked his life every moment when he was in the service. Every soldier. I'm a member of the Parliament Consultative Committee on Defense. I was in Ladakh last month, Pangdong Se. See the tremendous, amazing work which our soldiers do, not knowing whether he's going to be alive the next day. Why is it that the rest of the country do not have that kind of a commitment to the country? Why? We need discipline, and I hope technology can help. Let me read. This is a book I wrote 6 months back, released, Accelerating India. I'm very happy that Mr. Ramdurai used that word in his speech, accelerating. It's about 24 sectors in which India has done an amazing job. It's all numbers. I'm a numbers man. I'm an economist. If you see my speeches, it's all full of numbers. There are 24 chapters in this, out of which I have written only 2 chapters. One is on information technology. I've written it along with my elder son, who is a technology guy. And the rest of the chapters, and one is on road infrastructure. And the rest of the chapters are all written by former secretaries to the Government of India. Let me read you the last paragraph of my chapter on digital technology. Of course, it's the way forward is about 3 pages. I don't want to read that. As it is, the digital world knows more about us than we know ourselves. The logarithms with built-in biases can predict what we are going to think and do because we have permitted ourselves to be programmed. In a few years, education and indoctrination might become irrelevant. Our surgeons may be able to fix a chip in the brain of a newly delivered baby in a few minutes. The chip would know everything and will be continuously engaging on the net for upgradation and instructions. Some would think that this is already happening, with social media dictating our thoughts, words, and deeds. The digital world is also a wake-up call for humanity. Strangely, after this book was released, a month back, Elon Musk also tweeted the same thing. I'm sure he didn't get it from my book. He's much more brilliant than I am. It's going to happen. Take a few years, 10 years, you're going to have a chip implanted in your brain. You won't need BYJU'S anymore. I'm very sorry. You just directly download. Education would become irrelevant. And we would become zombies. And who said we are not zombies now? Who said we are not? We are just dependent on this damn thing. How many young people read a newspaper? How many read a book? How many read beyond the WhatsApp messages which comes? Forget about searching on the net. And this huge digital instrument which has revolutionized the country. We have today, last year, financial year, we had 42 billion transactions on the UPI worth 85 lakh crores. We have 4 lakh service centers which is reach out digital technology right down to the villages delivering technology. So as far as our Prime Minister is concerned, government is concerned, the benefits of technology must reach the last man out there, just not for a few elite. And still, as Mr. Ramdurai indicated, there's a massive digital divide. During the pandemic, 40% of our children, school children, did not have access to education because they did not have a device. And that's getting worse. And is the device a good thing? Sorry, I have a different opinion, even though I was a junior minister for IT. It has immense benefit, but what is the benefit if you are going to be a zombie because of this instrument? Does it serve humanity? Sorry, no. An India Today survey showed that kids as young as 6 is using the device to watch pornography, and 60% upwards of time is used by school children for watching pornography. The other day, some of you must have read in the newspaper, 5 boys below the age of 8 trying to rape a 6-year-old girl. You must have read, it was on the national media. Why? And guess who was keeping guard at the door? A 6-year-old boy. They were all questioned. What are you doing? So we saw it on the net. My dear friends, technology is a great instrument. A knife is beautiful. It can be used for chopping vegetables, cutting off weeds. It can be used to kill. A gun, yes, fantastic instrument to defend the country, for the cops, to protect people. Look what's happening in the US. The instrument is as good as the way you put it to use. You allow digital technology to take over your brains, our lives. Sorry, we are zombies. We are going to be, and we are already. I'm sorry. I think we need to break free. Break free. Starting from 42% in my 10th board examination, I became an IAS topper because I said, sorry, I'm not dumb. I can do whatever I want. Once in the service, I decided I'm going to do things for this country. In 27 years in the IAS, I never received a single telephone call from anybody, including when I was Commissioner DDA demolishing 14,310 illegal buildings. Never received a single telephone call. No. We can do whatever we want. I was on the cover of Time magazine. I became a minister. I'm a member of parliament. So, is anybody dumb? Has God created a dumb kid? The answer is no. We make them dumb. Unfortunately, the digital technology is helping to make them dumber. May God save the country. May God save the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Moses, please.
I'm sure there are a lot of questions. The Honorable former Minister, of course, he never misses having fun at me. But, you know, at least in university, I kept short hair. Somebody else didn't. So, you know, we're all the same here, the same boat. But I think he raised valid questions, and if you would like to ask questions, we would welcome it. Is there anyone? You can use that. Or you want to come here? Please.
Yes, please.
Sir, just a
Don't be courteous. Ask me anything.
yeah, I'm not being courteous at all, sir. Just a question, sir. You started your talk by saying that you spoke about the Agnipath scheme, trying to have more discipline in the country. And at the end of your talk, you made a remark that you went to Ladakh, went to Pangongso, and you have people who are willing to lay down their lives from the army to do what they do. But by doing with the Agnipath scheme, you're really breaking the foundation of a system which produces those guys. You're going to discipline the country, but you're going to break the system which is working, is all I wanted to say, sir. Thank you.
Are you a soldier?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My father fought the Second World War. He was a soldier. Okay. Moses, how many minutes will you give me? Because I can't just give a one sentence reply to that. See, what we need really is a lean, mean striking force. China had a total armed forces count of 43 lakhs. Today, it's down to 21 lakhs. India has today 14 lakh 18,000 soldiers. Our total budget this year, defense budget, is 5 lakh 30,000 crores. You know how much is our expenditure, capital expenditure? 1 lakh 52,000 crores. Honorable former ministry is here. He would know much more facts. Is this enough? Who is our enemy? Whether our armed forces, our infrastructure, our capabilities are sufficient, we need to weigh which service our enemy. We have only one enemy, which is China. Pakistan is only a proxy. General possibly would agree with me. But it's a little more than a proxy because it's a nuclear weapon state. Therefore, we saw with China, where are we? Take the Navy. How many nuclear submarines we have? China has 15. How many aircraft carriers we have? How many ships we have? How many aircrafts we have? The capital infrastructure has been absolutely non-existent. And of course, with apologies to Mr. Salman Khurshid, who is here, because we know there is politics also, but I'm not talking politics. The Defense Minister of India said in Parliament, I think in 2010, I have the video clip with me on my phone, I can show it to anybody. He said, we will not create infrastructure on this side of the Chinese border because then the enemy can cross over and occupy Indian territory easily. And he was defense minister for 10 years. Very honest man, Mr. A.K. Antony. Absolutely honest. Well-intentioned man. Good man. This government said, sorry, we are going to march China. And the kind of infrastructure we have created, like the kind of infrastructure I saw in Ladakh, I was in Kashmir 6 months back as member of the Defense Consultative Committee, is amazing. Is that enough? Not at all. We need to match China, and that means incredible amount of money to be spent on infrastructure. We need to save money somewhere. Number two, if you want to be a mean, lean, striking force, today the average age of a soldier is 32. We can't do. Earlier in winter, we used to withdraw from Siachen Glacier, all the big heights. Today, 365 days, we are manning it. We need younger people in their early 20s. To be manning that, to be trained properly. I am sure that the armed forces have the capability to take a 17-and-a-half, 18-year-old kid and train them. They have the ability, because I'm a huge admirer of the Indian armed forces. They are amazing people. They can train and they will do it. They can do it. Let me tell you about the pension. 2013-14, the total amount of defense budget that was spent on pensions was 17.8% of the total defense budget. Today, it is 24.6%. The salaries have not gone up dramatically. From 24.2%, it's gone up to 25.7%. So it's not a problem with salaries, it's pensions. But of course, General Sani was telling me that bulk of this money is spent on pension to civilians in the defense ministry. But whatever, we need to trim that dramatically. If you have too many clerical staff out there doing nothing, drawing a pension, we need to cut on that. We need to. And therefore, the meaner, leaner striking force we just need to create. Now, the argument of my opponent, who was from the Congress party, Mr. Prathapan, MP of the Congress party, was, we have had physical tests for 6 lakh people. They are waiting there, and therefore, what happens to them? I said, Mr. Prathapan, that is not the logic for your argument, because most of them would have crossed this age anyway. In any case, today, I've been jogging for 40 years. I do 5 kilometers every day. I said, if you have done a 100 meters test, physical test, and that qualifies you to be in the army, I said, that is not enough. There are much more things necessary. So if you think you run a 100-meter test for the army, physical test, and if you think that makes you qualified, no. I think we need to have radical reforms in the country. And so we haven't had discussion, sorry. The Kargil committee, under the chairman of Mr. Subramaniam, who is the father of External Affairs Minister Jaishankar, had gone into this issue in detail, and read that paragraph, the recommendation. He said, we need to recruit people much younger, train them, and we need a much younger force. It was very clear. Now, what will you do with people who come out at 23, 24 from this? That may be a question. 25% of the people would be absorbed in the armed forces based on their performance, which is again fantastic thing, because don't take it for granted you're going to be there. The best guys will get recruited. And let me tell you, the armed forces have a fantastic system of selecting. There won't be any political interference. They will select whoever is good. And these people get about 11 lakhs with which they can go and do something. No, but much more than that for the country. Here is a bunch of people who are going to come out who are completely committed to the nation and to the country, who love the country and who say, I want to make a difference with my life to the country. And this was my reply, my introductory comment right in the beginning. If the country is burning, we need a bunch of young people. We will say, sorry, we need to contribute. And this will be this bunch of people. And yesterday, the Home Ministry announced that X% of people recruitment in the central paramilitary forces will be from Agniveers. It was announced yesterday. We can always argue, was this not discussed? Well, Kargil Committee report was out 20 years back. Is it not long enough time? Is it not long enough time? You did not work out the entire modalities you are announcing day by day. Well, that is how things happen. The Constitution of India is a beautiful document, but why did we have 103 amendments? Because we, as time passes by, we try to make things better. If you are going to wait for a perfect document, sorry, nothing is going to happen. Let me tell you, in 40 years, I've never gone home with one file on my table, with one petition pending on my table. I'm not. You might make a mistake. Fine. When you do 100 things, if you get 90 things right, perfect, yeah, come on. We can make things better. The question is, what would these people do? At 24, when you come out, today the qualifying age for IAS examination is 21 to 32. A lot of these people are going to get into the IAS. Imagine a soldier, a plain soldier, going to get into the civil service. The government is making arrangements for them to pass class 12, those who are entering after class 10. Those who are getting in after class 12, they are going to get a degree from IGNOU. You are going to qualify and look at the world and say, wow, I can do things because I've done things. So, I hope that explains in some way. Yes, please. Thank you.
So we are talking about education and AI here, and we are talking about 30 million undergraduates who need to be trained. AI has been included by CBSE in class 8th, whereas teachers are not there. So teachers are not there in schools nor in colleges. We being an AI lab out of Bangalore, we have tried teaching students in 30 colleges. Not a single student wants to study. We went to colleges saying that we will provide free education, free platform, just study, we will take interns out of your colleges. Whenever we were saying free certificate, free education, colleges were signing up, teachers were studying, students were not there. Ultimately, teachers were ending the boot camps, students weren't there. Then we started charging. We said, okay, we'll charge for certificate, but education is free. Not a single college came up. Not a single student came up. So where is NEP going and where is AI in education happening? How will it be mobilized?
So, thank you very much. See, I have problems. I mean, you have BYJU'S. What's your name? I didn't get you. Sharad is from the BYJU'S institutions. Kerala, we pride ourselves of being the most literate state in the country. And I had a small part to play in this when I was the district collector of Kottayam in 1989. Under my collectorship, Kottayam became the first 100% literate town in India. I think some of you would know that. Historic event which kind of took the literacy off from there, and the National Literacy Mission was based on that. Kerala prides itself of being very, very literate. But the girl I talked about earlier, the girl who was a school topper in Kerala, and who said, I got to go and ask my mother what I'm going to do with my life. I'm sorry, this is a case of most children in a state where education, we are the top in education in the country. What happens to the other states? You tell me. All these beautiful documents we have produced, it all depends on our ability to implement things. And I'm a die-hard, hardcore delivery man. I'm not a theoretician. I just go and do it. Like, let me also tell you, let me impress Mr. Sharad. When I was commissioner for entrance examination, generally it takes 3 months for the CBSE to declare results. I went there. We are only 24 people. I didn't hire anybody new. You know how many days we took to deliver, to announce the results of the examination in 2000? Instead of 3 months, 7 days. How is it possible? It's possible. Why aren't we doing it? Because we don't want to. Simple. Come on, stop pushing files. This country is sick and tired of bureaucrats pushing files only. I'm also deeply disappointed with my tribe of the IAS. 1.5 million people write the examination, 100 people get selected, God's own people, and you don't deliver? How many of them are delivering, frankly speaking? How many of them? Come on, I think we need to have dramatic changes in the mindset, blaming everybody else. We all love to blame the politician and say, well, he is illiterate. Sorry, the bigger problem is with the bureaucracy, if you know. I think we need to have these complete changes happening. And you know, so where the big change must come? At the family. In how many families in this country do parents have dinner with their children every day? 1%? The only free time for the child is when he doesn't have a tuition, he is not in school, and that is the only time is the dinner time. So what does the child do? He grabs the dinner, goes in front of the television, because that is his only free time. Does any parent in this country talk to the kid? Child, what is your dream? Dream your own dreams. Let me ask here itself, how many of you have dinner with your children and talk about the nation and the world? How many of you? 1, I see 1 hand. 2, 3. This is a problem. So the problem, sir, is a family. Right there. Don't blame schools. Start with your family. Tell your kid, my dear child, it's not a prime minister, it's not a chief minister, it's not a member of parliament, not the MLA. You must make a difference. You have to make a difference. In fact, that's the title of my autobiography published by Penguin in 96. Making a difference. You can do it. Tell that child. No digital technology can do all this. It's in the heart. Isn't it? It's in the heart. Parents, families, you are responsible. Put that dream. With that dream, yes, use digital technology, use the latest technology. All that is available. A company like TCS has done such an amazing job. And I'm very happy that you are going to be involved in 5G in a big way. And Mr. Ramadore, let me again tell you, this $10 billion which is given for microprocessor, I fought in the parliament repeatedly, and finally these $10 billion were announced. And I'm very sure you're going to be deeply involved with this development of this. Because without the microchip, without a chip, what are you talking about India being a great electronic power or anything like that? So let's change with the family. Start our children to dream. Start today at dinner time. Spend time, not 5 minutes, not 10 minutes. Spend an hour. The love you have for your child is not shown by the digital, by the electronic device you give him. In fact, that's only going to damage him. And if you give them laptops, let them sit in the drawing room and do the project, not in their rooms where they watch only pornography. Let's change things. Can we? Can we start that? It's very easy to blame politicians, very easy to blame bureaucracy, very easy to blame the education system. Let's start with each of us, each family, and that will dramatically change things. You know, the best country for primary education, I'm told, is Finland. There is no high-tech things happening there. Children are taught to go and discover for themselves. Most of the time they spend in the field, not in some classroom, no, in the field. You have to discover the truth yourself. In fact, you know, I've never given advice to my wife or to my children, not that they're going to listen to me anyway. In 40 years, my wife is out most of the time. I've never asked my wife, where have you gone been 40 years? Never. Most of the money is in her account. I never asked her ever, how have you spent the money? No, don't. You don't have to. Give freedom to people, freedom to flourish. All right? I hope that makes sense. No, you might.
Excuse me, just one intervention. Excuse me, just a sec. Of course, I bow to, although I was the student leader in university, but he is far surpassed me, and he's doubly qualified because he's both bureaucrat and politician in avoiding the question, which I believe was on AI and education. So that question has been not answered, I believe. But of more alarming for me is that poor Mr. Salman Khurshid, former minister, has been challenged 3 times, and he is keeping quiet, the spokesman of the Congress party. He has not responded yet. Once he was challenged on education policy.
This is not a political debate at all.
No, I'm just saying he's personally been challenged. You've challenged him 3 times. No. So, but he's keeping quiet. Do you have anything to respond, or? So I'm sorry, Mr. Mr. Raja is going to ask. He's from AI. Please go.
Salmanji has been my mentor. I've gone to him many times when I was a bureaucrat, even as a politician. So, you know, he's been such a gracious mentor to me. Yeah.
Sir, I'm from a robotic company, so we have experience of recruiting children from elite institutions. So my question is in 2 parts. One is that particularly boys from IITs, when we recruit them, we see that since from 9th standard they are preparing for their JEE or so, they have extremely good engineering sense, but almost a zero common sense. So in a manufacturing setup, it is we have to spend so much time and hours to bring them to normalcy. As a part of national education policy, can we do something about it? That is one question. And second thing is that when we employ people with higher rankings, they feel that everyone, if we employ 5 people from mega institutions, all 5 people behave like they are captain material.
They are?
Captain material. So they are not a team members. So nobody accepts the other guy as a team member. So it is becoming very difficult for companies like us. Probably they are only suitable for MNCs because they have a different policy to tame them. I think as Indians, we have to do something about that. I need your suggestions on both areas.
I think number one, I think it's most important to be humble. I mean, look at Mr. Ramdure here. He's been such a titan of the industry, built up that entire TCS empire. And the humility with which he's led his life, led his team of people. You could be from the best institution in the world. I mean, I've interacted so much with Manjul Bhargav. He was a professor at Princeton at 33. Full professor. Guy is so humble. I think the higher we go, unless we learn humility, it's so difficult. If I am an IAS officer selected from 1.5 million people, if I don't listen to people, my dear sir, am I worthy of being in the IAS? Not at all. I can very proudly say, not one person has ever come to see me and not seen me and not got the work done. Nobody's left my room less happier than when he entered my room. If I don't do it, if I'm not humble enough, it's my job to be humble, isn't it? Why? If I ask a minister, if I ask the tourism minister of India, if I don't meet people, what am I a minister for here? There's not one person who's come to see me, who wanted to see me when I was minister, who's not seen me. My phone when I was minister was with me, not with my PS, not with my PS's PA, no, which is what most often it is. Even the private secretary doesn't pick up a call, most of you know. It's with me. I've answered 100% calls. Simple system. After every meeting, 10 minutes is set apart for answering calls. Every message is replied. Things are done, I reply back. I'm not particularly humble, yeah. I'm not. I'm just doing my job because I'm paid to do that job by the Constitution of India, yes or no? Oh my God, I get a blown head, I'm minister. Come on, democracy, who appointed me minister? The last man out there? I think we have a problem. We have a problem also with the industry. The moment you make $1 million, you think you are bigger than a minister or you are bigger than the secretary to the government of India. You also, guys also have a problem. Yeah? You know, tiny real estate guy, the moment he makes $1 million, has a house in Greater Kailash, he thinks he's the greatest guy. You think your private sector is less arrogant than we? Not at all. Not at all. Given half a chance, you guys are 1,000,000 times more arrogant than any of us. Can we have a bit of humility, say that everybody born on the face of the earth, we have the right to live a dignified life, and the way, it's not about preaching, it's about the way I treat people. Can we do that? I'm sorry again being autobiographical. I live in a minister's bungalow, to Lodi estate. I have 10 servants' quarters. Past 5 years, I have 10 unemployed families living with me, 43 people. All their food, all their education, all their health care, high-end computers to everybody. Their expenses of their in-laws and their parents in the villages, any medical help, it's all from my MP salary, my IAS pension, and my wife's savings. Come on, can't I do that? And then you have the famous corporate social responsibility of most of the corporate houses, and you appoint your wife, your daughter as a president of the CRS, of the trust, and then you round trip the money. How much of the money reaches people really, frankly speaking? Come on, am I doing a great thing by looking after 43 people who live in my house? Not at all. My fundamental duty. Is it that I'm a rich guy? No. I still use the jacket which I bought when I went to Mussoorie Academy. This is a 42-year-old jacket I wear. I proudly wore it when I was a minister. I have only one black shoe, so this is 7 years old. It shines. Every morning I shine it. Why do I need a second shoes? Why do I need a second jacket? Aren't there people out there starving who can't afford a digital device, food? So I think the answers are there. We all need to be humbler. This entire Indian philosophy of Vasudeva Kudumagam, I think it's the greatest philosophy which India has given to the world. In actual practice, does it happen at all? Aren't we cruel to the whole universe? We've wrecked the universe. We destroy everything in this universe. I'm glad there are some reports which say that the human species is coming to an end in another 100 years. So one day I asked a question in the parliament, and I asked the minister a very mischievous question. Minister, will you expedite the process? He didn't understand. He said, yes, sir. Yes. You come to my house. I have 7 stray dogs, all adopted from the street. I have 2 cats, all adopted from the street. What gives us the right to believe that we are the superior species? We wreck everything. We destroy everything. And therefore, answer, I think, by and large, the philosophy of the question which you asked is there. Okay, thank you.